I'm making this video because if you've been keeping up to date on my Instagram, you would have seen that my other horse, Logan, has come home. For one reason or another, he was out on loan and unfortunately the person that had him couldn't have him anymore. It's been almost a year since he's gone, so quite a few of you probably don't remember him or don't know who he is. So I thought I'd make this video and I'm going to voice over it so you kind of have an idea of what he went through. So I bought Logan in the Brightwell sales in Wales, February 2019. I didn't plan, even to much people's disbelief, to buy a horse in the sales. I just went with my friend. She was looking to buy 2 horses and I decided to go with her and I ended up coming home with one, Logan, and she came home with no horses. So here he is in the sales. It sounds really silly, but the first thing that drew me to him was, if you notice, he has no water, no hay, and no bedding, and he just stood there like, someone please love me. So you can see he was really quite skinny in these pictures. This is just after I'd bought him. My heart in the ring, my goodness, it was like going at 500 miles an hour. I couldn't believe that I just bought this horse. I couldn't even believe that I was bidding on a horse. So if no one's been to an auction before, you go there and you get given a booklet and horses have lot numbers. I think Logan was lot number 3 or maybe possibly 4, I can't remember now. And in his booklet, you look down, in this booklet you look down and it said number 4, and all it said was could do point-to-point races. And a few of the other horses that were in there, they weren't all thoroughbreds in there. There was Arabs, Shetlands, Cobs, Welsh ponies. Does no one love this horse? He's just in this ring and no one seems to know anything about him. Anyway, so just bought this horse. First thing we did was try and get him loaded, but did he want to load? No. We eventually got him loaded after 2 men came and helped us.
Tie him on the back.
Tie him on the back. We ended up having to back the trailer right up into where the stamps are, I don't know, and he had absolutely no choice but to go on, but it did take quite a while. Stopped off halfway because it was a 5-hour journey for us, and just to check on him. He was okay, he travelled like a dream. This was when he just come off the lorry, them pictures when he just come off the trailer. So a lot of people don't like watching horse racing. These are 2 videos that I found of Logan. In the first video, I really want you to watch what he's doing with his head, because I later found out that I mean, it might not be true, it might be true, I'm not sure, but to get him to run, because he was so useless, hence why he was sold, they put blinkers on him and they beat him from behind, so he panicked. And then when the gates opened, he was like, my God, he was swaying his head, like trying to see behind him, but running blind and panic. And you can really see it in this video, which is really quite sad. And if you don't want to watch, if I just fast forward my laptop here, skip to about 5 minutes and the video of him racing's over.
They're off, and Making It just rears a little bit in the green jacket, leaving the starting gates, and is one of the last ones away, although one flew over, has dropped to be right at the rear of the field as they get very well strung out early on. Iconic Boy with the red sleeves has taken off and leads by 2 or 3 lengths. Chickpea in a black and white jacket is holding second place, in the purple colours of Star of Assisi is 2 or 3 lengths behind that. The green of Making It, she's moved up into 4th position in company with Percy Prosecco and Champs in blue. Grey jacket of Telltale is behind these as they move across the intersection, and Sterling Value in pink is a couple of lengths behind this. There's similar margin then to Safari in the yellow and blue jacket, and one flew over is about 3 lengths behind him at the rear of the field. But in front, this has got to be a 6 or 7 length advantage for Blinkered the first time. Iconic Boy, well, they've certainly woken him up. He leads as they run round the loop. 2 in second position, Chickpea, with now the green of Making It having moved her way through the field into 3rd position around the outside of Star of Assisi. Percy Prosecco in blue and white is next as they begin the run back towards the home straight, followed through by Champs in blues, dropped a few places, White-Faced Chestnut against the running rail. The grey jacket of Telltale is next, and then the pink colours of Sterling Value as they come then towards the home straight. Safari in blue and yellow continues to be last but one, and one One Flew Over is still the back marker as Iconic Boy enters the home straight then and heads down towards the last half mile with still a 5 or 6 length advantage. Chickpea, black and white hoops on the sleeves, is holding second position, stalked by Star of Assisi. On the right is Making It in green, is hanging a bit down the centre. Percy Prosecco in blue and white is next. Safari making his move. Blue and yellow jacket begins to close. Champs in blue is alongside him, and then comes One Flew Over. Heading down to the closing stages, Percy Prosecco has come through with Star of Assisi to go on. Chickpea in black and white against the running rails. Safari towards the right. Blue and yellow getting to the leaders now. They've gone very hard here. They have just over a furlong to go. Percy Prosecco to Safari. One Flew Over on the extreme right. Star of Assisi and Chickpea behind those. Safari is trying to get to Percy Prosecco, who's still got a very slender lead over him though. They head up towards the line. The blue and white Percy Prosecco trying to hold off Safari, and did so. And they were clear from Chickpea in third and Star of Assisi in fourth.
And they're off. Timur Khan broke slowly and taken back Iconic Boy from his very wide draw, but it's the favourite Gaudi who has come and claimed the early lead. Timur Khan, having broken slowly, then had to be taken off heels, running greenly right at the back of the field as they make their way down the back stretch. And it's Gaudi who is out in front to Island Court racing in second. Around the outside, Dubai Frame is now prominent, with on the inside Alpine Peak racing in fourth position. Rusper is in fifth, Revellion being pushed along in sixth. Likewise is Ventura Magic in seventh. Aya goes into the turn next, followed by Lady Nura, another one running greenly. Iconic Boy and Timur Khan is at the back of the field, and he is spotting the leader, Gaudi, around about 10 lengths. They're on the turn and going towards halfway.
The morning after, I put a rug on him, turned him out. It was February, so it was quite chilly. There's Maisie. Can't believe that she's got a new brother. There she is. Oh my goodness, who is that? And I don't believe he'd ever been in a field before, or certainly one not this big. There's Maisie still in disbelief. So we had a little wander about. Maisie's still trying to eye him up, but Logan paying absolutely no attention and eventually trotting off to the mares in the other field. What you're about to see, he has never done before or after this incident. Like I say, I genuinely don't believe he'd ever been out in a field. And this was his reaction.
Ooh. Maisie. No. Ooh, ooh. Woo! Here we go. Oh my God. Great.
So off came the rug so he could feel a zap of the electric, and thankfully he hasn't done it since. I also had him on the lunge just so if he did want to run, I could have hold of him. And here's Maisie playing hard to get all of a sudden. It must have been a warm February because her rug's off too. Here he is having a little trot around in his new field for the first time. And voila! This is my first ride. Unfortunately, I didn't get any videos of my first ride, but I did get a few photos. And my first ride was get on and have a trot around the school, and that was it. This was the day after we got him home, so it was all really, really new to him. Luckily, I know a race horse trainer, and he was in the area at the time. He lives quite far away, and it was just ironic that he was here on the same day I just bought a racehorse. So he came and he gave me a hand, and he actually happened to know who he was. So lunging. I don't believe Logan had ever been lunged. As you can see in these videos, he had absolutely no idea what I was asking him to do. Being a racehorse, he probably was just hopped on and galloped in a straight line, and that is all he'd done for a year and a half. I bought him as a 3-year-old. So for a year and a half, he'd just been ridden in a straight line, and he didn't quite understand what on earth I was asking him do. It just took time. I mean, it looks frustrating and you're probably just screaming, get after him, but it just didn't work. You just had to take it really slow with him. So my idea was to get someone out with him on the lunge, like in this video, my friend's walking him around in the circle just so he kind of understands what he's doing. And eventually he kind of got the idea, but notice how weak he is behind in these videos. It took a lot of time to build up that muscle because obviously he's not used to going on a circle. This is when a few weeks later he kind of got the idea of going around in circles, and I took him to my friend's yard as a first little outing. Obviously he was fine, but you can see a big problem with us was he couldn't canter on the right leg on this rein. He eventually gets it here after going disunited behind, but it really did take a lot of time, and probably still now he struggles. He's always had one rein he's better on, like lunging. He would always lunge on one rein and not the other. He'd always pick up on the same leg every single time. So everyone was slowly falling in love with Logan, apart from Maisie, as you can see. When I bought Logan, I believed he was a 4-year-old. I'd never actually bought a horse at auction before. This was my first time, but they sell the horse on the age that he's turning that year, if that makes sense. So he's actually a 3-year-old horse, but he wasn't turning 4 until a few months after I bought him. But he was turning 4 that year, so he was sold as a 4-year-old. But he wasn't, he was 3. So here's my 3-year-old not being terrified of scary men on quad bikes. I mean, he's such a good horse, and I believed he was 4 and a bit more. But for a 3-year-old horse, he was just the most genuine horse I'd ever come across in my entire life. So watch this video. Yep, not phased at all. Trotting around the school, really starting to work himself from behind now, not so weak on that back leg. Even terrifying men in the field aren't scary. You can see here I'm really struggling to push him forward because he was actually, believe it or not, quite lazy. Slowly starting to accept the contact. We used draw reins just to encourage him down a little bit. And eventually, after a few months of hard work, he was working around consistently in an outline. Not weak behind, not as much anyway. Really starting to accept the contact, walk, trot, canter, doing them crazy circle things. Yeah, he was really turning into be such a beautiful horse, and I absolutely love him. Okay, these videos are hilarious. Logan has no clear talent of jumping. He only ever flat raced, so this was his first ever jump ever. Enjoy. Oh, yeah, no talent there. I mean, I'm probably not helping. We've done it a few times. We just had a course up in the school and whoop, yeah, absolutely no chance. And I just thought, oh, I'll pop him around and see how it goes. And yeah, I definitely don't have a show jumper on my hands. So Logan was really starting to look beautiful now. I mean, just look at that trot. He'd really filled out, his coat was coming through. He was growing and growing in character every single day. Here he is on the lunge, just completely getting it with my friend. He was happily trotting out on the roads. He was happily cantering out in fields. I mean, would do the occasional jump. But this pony, this horse was really something special, really growing into something special. For such a young horse to have seen and done so much and just to come out the other end, I found out that he'd been to two race homes. He'd done 11 races. He'd had quite a few jockeys on his back, and just absolutely nothing fazed him. He was just brilliant. Everything you threw at him, he would take it all in his stride. And I thought, bargain. He cost me £420, and he was a project. He was going to sell, and I very almost had him sold until this happened. You can see here his leg had swollen, it had grown, it looked like a little head until it burst into an abscess. And admittedly, he'd always had a slight lump, and we'd had vets out, quite a few vets, and a lot of them said it was an old injury. I didn't have him vetted at the race home. I even got into contact with people that knew him and that raced him and rode him in these race homes, and none of them said that he had a previous injury, so nothing was really adding up. Anyway, this lump on this leg was slowly getting bigger, but he never ever had a day's lameness. So we just kind of kept pushing through until, like you saw in that picture, it burst into an abscess. And this abscess drained for 2 weeks, and there was a lot of pus and gunk and just stuff coming out of this leg. Anyway, eventually the abscess disappeared and his leg looked almost completely normal. And then one day, this happened. So you can see how swollen his leg is there. This angle as well, you can see that it doesn't take a genius to work out that leg's swollen. It looks like he'd blown a tendon, but again, absolutely no lameness. And the next thing you know, we're in Bell Equine. Anyone that doesn't know what Bell Equine is, it's the biggest veterinary practice around here. I had a vet's out after his leg had swollen up like that, and we had scans and I had x-rays, and it came back in the scan, the x-rays were fine, it came back in the scan that there was something stuck in his leg. She estimated between 2 and 3 millimeters big, and she just got up from the machine where they do the scan, and he just said he needs surgery. I don't think I had a job at the time, or if I did, I didn't earn a lot of money. And my heart just kind of sunk for him. I thought, why does he deserve this? You know, was this the reason he was sold? All these thoughts going around in my head. Were these people that I'm messaging about him, were they hiding something? Had he had an injury? How had this thing got in his leg? Anyway, so I had no choice. He had to go in for surgery. There was no other option. I had the scans, I had the x-rays, I could clearly, and I know absolutely nothing about scanning horses, you know, she was just looking at the scan machine, all I saw was black and white lines, and she said, yeah, there you go, and I was like, what? And then when she explained it, and when she told me about it, she said that there was layers and layers and layers of, like, tissue, I think she said, where basically his leg had previously built up abscess after abscess after abscess, trying to get this thing out of his leg, and it couldn't, but the more layers it was building up, the hardest thing was to get out of his leg, because the tissue, the things were in the way of getting this thing out. Anyway, so many things. Yeah, so there was really no option but to put him through surgery. And ironically, the day that I was told this, he was coming, someone was coming to pick him up because I sold him. So yeah, so here I am in Bell Equine, and someone came up to me, the surgeon, and he said he'd scanned his leg and he didn't believe anything was in there. I couldn't quite believe what I was hearing. He got a second, third, fourth opinion, and there was also a few trainee vets. They all scanned him. He said, this is the top machine, this is the best you can buy, I can't see anything, there's nothing in his leg. He actually advised me to turn him out and see what happens. But this had been quite a while now that his leg was building up abscesses and bursting and swelling up and looking like he'd blown tendons, and I was a little bit confused that this like brilliant vet had told me that there was nothing in his leg and I should just turn him out and film and see what happens. But he was really adamant that he didn't want to do it. He said he didn't want to cause more damage than what was already done. And here I was, little me, in this vet with my horse that was doped, so he couldn't even travel anyway, and all these vets saying there was nothing wrong with him. But I really put my foot down and I said, there's something wrong, there's something there. I said, I've seen this horse, I know this horse, there's something wrong in that leg. There is something not quite right and I need it fixed. And he said, okay, well, I'll do it, but blah, 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 blah. It was really adamant and really made me feel very uncomfortable. All I wanted to do was burst out into tears, because I'd already spent a good few hundred getting these scans, getting these x-rays, getting him to the vet. We were here, we were there, what was to lose? 2 hours later, I got a phone call from the vet and said they successfully removed a foreign body between 1 and 2 millimeters big. Now imagine if I hadn't stuck my foot down and I hadn't stuck with my guns and persuaded the vet to operate. Logan would still be in the same position he was in there.
Buddy.
So here are some pictures of him coming out the vet the next day. He had to stay in for a night. He was pretty happy in himself. Here he is walking out of the surgery, going onto the trailer.
Filming. Keep going. Where's little Logan?
He had to stay in, I think he stayed in for 8 days in the end. I mean, the surgery was pretty low. I mean, there wasn't a lot of risk, but nevertheless, he still went in for surgery. And here are just a few videos of after.
Lots of drugs for my little man.
So this is what the leg looked like once I'd taken the bandage off a few days later after surgery. I mean, there's quite a dramatic difference there. Here he is on box rest with his blue bandage. Way more interested in his leg than he is me.
Morning, buddy. Hey. Hey-ho. He hasn't had grass for 4 days and it's like he's never seen it. Aww.
So our journey kind of stopped there. It was winter. I had just got a new job. I still had Maisie. She had since moved yards to where I worked, and so I had 2 horses in 2 different yards, which was really, really hard. And of course, he wasn't sellable. There was a lot of rehab for him because I didn't want to push it. I didn't want to overwork the leg. He was so young. There was so much to heal. I think I managed to ride him only a handful of times in the following weeks, month maybe. He could only do sort of 5 minutes of walk and maybe a minute of trot, and that was kind of it. None of them terrifying circles, mainly in straight lines, just to really, really, you know, strengthen that leg because it'd been through quite a lot. And that's when I decided to put him out on full loan to a friend that would listen to me and that would understand what he's been through, and that had to take it slowly. He was not sellable. You can't sell a horse a few months prior surgery and say, yeah, here's a horse, I want X amount of money for it, but you can only trot in a straight line for a minute. No one's going to buy him. And that is the reason why he went out on full loan. Anyway, like I say, it's nearly been a year, and my friend, she has listened to me and she's really looked after him, and she has been a massive part in Logan's journey and his recovery. And obviously he's got the all clear now, he's absolutely fine, he is ready to go show jumping, not that he can jump tomorrow if he wanted to. And I'm really, really looking forward to getting him back, getting him home, getting cracking with him, and hopefully having a fabulous year, if I keep him, with him, and just putting the past behind us and moving on. So yeah, that is Iconic's boys' journey.